Hello, everyone. Some of you look very familiar.
Yeah, fancy meeting you here. Small internet,
Eh,
isn't it?
small internet. Excellent. Good to see everyone.
Yeah.
I'm going to post in the chat our our meeting notes.
Uh,
Who's our goose today?
is that Crow being Goose Man today, or is that
Could
Jen?
be. I'm guessing Jen, but all right. If your name's not already in the in our little meeting notes, please add it.
Anybody hear me?
Yes, we can, sir.
Oh boy. Boy, my computer hated that. That was fun.
What's
Sorry
it
I'm late.
doing? No problems. Welcome, Crow. I think, at least I see a whole bunch of names in the attendees list.
Well, welcome everybody to the July 5th edition of my favorite working group, the best working group. Do we have any new friends that wanted to say hello and introduce themselves to the group?
Hi everyone, I'm a new member here. I'm Avishai from Israel. I work at Microsoft. I maintain open source projects through Microsoft, and really excited to be here, to be listening in, and hope to bring value. Nice to meet you all.
Excellent. Welcome, sir. Glad to have you. Anyone else new that wanted to say hello?
Hey all, this is Tapas from Red Hat. I have been attending, this is my second time to this meeting. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to contribute in this working group. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? If anyone has any items they want to add to the agenda, please do so. First off, we'll start off with any updates from our member projects. I see David's written a bunch of stuff. Anything you wanted to comment on your notes, David?
Yeah, this should be real quick. Best practices badge. We've updated lots of dependencies as we do routinely, so we won't be surprised when there's a fix. And we've had what I believe is our first GDPR deletion, because if somebody says, "Hey, I want to delete my account," we honor that. And so we did that. Fundamentals course. I think most of you know we had a big announcement. There's for SCORM Connect. This makes it a lot easier for universities, big organizations to include the course, make it look as if it's just part of their regular offerings. We have a pull request for adding a $2 generated image, in this case for race conditions. I don't think there's any legal issues. In particular, OpenAI said that our use was fine. I did send a JIRA legal ticket just to make sure, because this is different than what we've done before. I'm not expecting any problems. And that's it. Questions?
How can I see your image of a race condition, David?
Okay, well, let's see here. Give me a moment. I will. It's. I mean, it's off. It's off the pull request, but I will try to give you a direct link to the actual image, because I think that's what you're actually asking me for. All right, so let's see here. All right, I am going to shove that into the notes. Actual image. I mean, it's kind of odd.
Click on the link.
Stay in the lane. Right. So that is completely generated by a machine, which is kind of cool. So, and the idea is to try to use these images both to make the course a little more visually interesting and illustrate, when you say race conditions, are we talking about races of humans? No. We're talking about like racing cars. So hopefully, sticking images into people's head makes it a lot easier for them to understand what some of these phrases mean in a visceral way.
It's cool. Any comments for David on either the badges or the fundamentals update? All right. I see our friend Glenn is here. Do you have any updates you wanted to share, Glenn?
Hey everybody. Yeah, we are actually quite busy with the single sign-on solution implementation finally, so that's good. We also got some nice feedback now of people actually using the platforms, and also, well, I'm been using it in all my training so far. So that's pretty awesome. And lately we also looking into the new UX design, because it was, well, technically all nice and working, but as you noticed, I'm not a design specialist. So I actually, asked a bit of help of a specialist over there, and we have revamped a bit of the content. Maybe won't take that long. Let me share quickly my screen, so at least you all get an idea of what we're doing. So I asked a specialist in this area to look at it. Basically looked at all the stylings, the fonts, the colors, the whole look and feel. I said like, okay, you can do some better things here, like better icons that makes more sense. Also decluttering the menu and make it more easier for the eye. Some different icons to use instead of the ones that we have. Also removing icons from the menu because it didn't make sense according to him. The grid system that we should use, luckily we already use it, only not this color scheme, so that is going to be also applied everywhere. As you know, we also have now a whole training menu where you have a self-service training capability using David Wheeler's course, for example. Now it technically, like I said, works, but it wasn't appealing that well. So this is like the new left overview of all the categories and how they would look like, and when you're done with them. A bit more, about the colors so also a progress indicator, so you know how far you are into the course and how much time you actually still need to spend. Some nice little colors into it. Let me see. Yeah, a bit bundled information. Yeah, and this is what the new overview should look like. So a bit more styled, also centered content. Also when you make it a full screen, you have a center page, not using all the space there. Again, a couple of new icons introduction, correct usage of the colors. Like I said, progress bar that we're going to add. We also going to make design nice training cards. And the other important thing that we actually wanted to do was the dashboard redesign, and make it a sort of accordion-based menu. Because also another, UX designer and journey expert, he said like, look, you have amazing website, but I don't know how to use it. So to solve that, basically what we want to do is make a dashboard, a landing page where you have, hey, the journey for a developer, the journey for a pen tester. Hey, I only want to do trainings, or hey, I want to start customizing SPF with the checklist, the requirements, and everything that belongs to that one. So hopefully with this improvement, it will also be easier for people to actually use it if you're new to SPF, right? Because you can go there for trainings, but you also as a developer can use it for getting the right security requirements. So that is that, and let me see. So this is the new pages of the training. So if you go to the training in SKF, you will get then these nice boxes. Then in the red one, you see the different levels and skills that you can pick them. And when you start them, you get like this nice overview of how it would look like. Full screen. That is the full screen mode, so also very nicely done. And for the people who are maybe not aware, so how does it now look like this? I mean, technically it works, but as you see, it's a huge improvement of what the UX designer did actually, right? So that is that. Also next to that, we're busy with the Google Summer of Code. We were selected thanks to the mentors in Google for mentoring another student. And what is also interesting there is actually that we are building a sort of video editor. This video editor can actually, you can feed it Markdown, and then it will load all the content, generate videos that you then can publish, right? And for us, it's interesting because actually every main section, like requirement design and reuse, for example, in this case, should have like a video explaining already about all the content and the topics about it. Yeah, so that is also something we're experimenting with. If that's working and going well, the idea is there also to use some deepfake and wave to lip functionality. So you can actually also have an instructor, you know, in the corner explaining and speaking everything there using some deepfake and wave to lip functionality. So technically also in other languages, because you have the, what is it, the Google project as well, the Google Wavenet, what was it? Anyhow, so it's going to be very interesting, you know, when that is done actually, because then we can also offer in video at least the materials in many different other languages as well. Yeah, so that is pretty nice. So that was a small update.
Glenn, when you say other languages, are we talking natural language, human languages, or programming languages?
Ah, sorry, human languages.
Thank you.
Good point indeed. Yes. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Glenn on these pretty cool SKF updates?
Nope. I actually have one more general for Glenn, which is if you start doing translation to other human languages, let me know, you know, how you approach that, because there are other materials that could be translated also. We'd love to hear, you know, suggestions or experience.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for now, what we're going to do is at least for the editor, right? Because we're creating videos from the material, and it's called Google Wavenet. Sorry, now it popped into my mind, Google Wavenet. So with this one, we could, yeah, use to synthesize text, voices, and well, Google, as you know, has very good translations. And also this Wavenet scores very high into getting the right tones in the different languages. So we're going to experiment with that. So let SKF be a play garden for that. And if it's fruitful, then I will definitely share back yeah, the results here. So maybe it's also useful for other projects, right? Yeah.
That's very cool. In a semi-related note, before we move on, tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern, we are having our our very first education SIG call, where we'll be reviewing the stream 1 of the OpenSSF's mobilization plan. And so it's focused on education. So we'll be taking some of the content from this group and kind of repackaging it, augmenting it. And I would expect, Glenn, that some of the things, some of the efforts out of that SIG will potentially touch on to SKF, because people learn differently. Some people learn very well from an instructor-led class. Some people learn well from a book. Others learn by doing. And SKF is more of the doing portion of education. So I expect part of that SIG will potentially be routing some things SKF's way. So I'm very excited to see.
Yeah, I think it was also open, right? So we can also join. So I will try my best to also be there tomorrow and yeah, see how we can contribute or help. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Everybody's welcome if you wanted to join the education SIG call tomorrow. I'll post things into Slack tomorrow. And then also related, many of us were at the Austin Open Source Summit in Texas 2 weeks back, and there will be a similar conference held in Dublin, Ireland in the fall. The OpenSSF had the very first day of the conference, and we had nearly 1,000 people between about 300 physical and almost 700 virtual watch OpenSSF Day. So the foundation is going to be putting out a call for papers. So if anyone is interested in going to Europe in the fall to talk about things like SKF or David's foundation SCORM Connect transformation, please keep that in the backs of your head, and there'll be details. So if you're interested and able to get to Europe in the fall, that could be a nice way to actually showcase some of this stuff with members of the community. All right.
Martha was asking if we already had a confirmed date for Dublin.
Yes, I don't have that right now, but I will look that up and post that in the meeting notes. So that there is a date, it is confirmed. And they said, and I think once Jory gets back from PTO, that they'll actually start to get blast out to the membership for call for papers. I'll try to track that down soon. And I'll say getting back to the States from Dublin was an adventure. Hopefully my European friends won't have the same troubles. 36 hours took me. All right, so our other member projects, does anyone have any updates they want to share, whether inventory or scorecard, anything new they want to share?
I have something.
Oh, please.
I'm Spiros from Seattle here. We just finished our major integration with OWASP ASVS, ASVS being one of the major standards in OWASP. And now ASVS uses CREs to link to other standards, which is great. And in preparation for more integrations, we are working on mapping and releasing governance related CREs, maybe later this summer. Our goal is September, by end of August, start of September, which should allow us to link to the CSA controls mapping standard and OWASP SAM, PCI, and ISO, and other governance related standards.
That's awesome. We may want to consider when that's done, whether we could talk with the foundation folks about maybe doing a blog to kind of announce this. I think this is some amazing work, and I think would be very beneficial for projects and open source consumers.
That would be fantastic. Yeah. In the meantime, if there are any security related like standards writers in the foundation that would be interested in getting in touch, we would be happy to talk to them.
Why don't you and I talk offline? We can send a note out, hopefully through the announcements channel, to see if we can get some broader eyes on it and see if anyone's interested in blabbing.
Sounds good. Yeah, sure. Let's talk offline.
Excellent. All righty. Let us jump into what I hope our last conversation for 1.0 of the awesome one-pager. I put a link in the chat, and it's also in our meeting notes here. If you could turn your eyes to the one-pager for developing more secure software, I will yield the floor over to David. See if we can get this done today.
Who will try to remember? Yeah, who will try to remember to turn off mute. All right. Okay, so basically, lots of people had lots of great ideas. Thank you so much. And I tried to make changes and accept things. The only thing I didn't do was deal with, there were some comments that And so basically, if you don't mind, what I'd like to do is first just note that we have straight up text with links with no changes to my knowledge. There are some comments that if we have time, I'd like to just kind of walk through and make sure nobody has any big issues with it. Let's see here. So are we good with just walking through the high level comments and then seeing if anybody has objections and then marking them off? And after we're done with that, we're at least done with this one, though there's of course the other evaluation one that I think we'll work on and try to complete by next meeting. Sound like a plan, Crow?
Sounds great.
All right, so let's start from the top. Maybe I should share my screen. That would be an amazing construct. Let's see here. If I click on share screen, desktop, share, bad things no doubt will happen. All right. Okay, so if you go from the top, and I'm going to have to narrow this down a little bit so that I can see the comments. First comment is, are we developing software or just secure open source software? And frankly, almost all this is just software. It's not really unique to open source at all. The other one about evaluating is more specific, but I would say if we don't need to be more specific, let's not be specific. It's the same old problems. So I'm going to mark that as resolved. And the title I tweaked slightly because there were questions about, hey, are we doing ultimate security? Well, no, we want more secure. It's really a, this is a, so I'm hoping that we have resolved that with adding the word more. I changed the font size. We can dismiss that. Goal is 1 page. Should we be providing specific blueprints on how to accomplish this? The goal is 1 page, so we can link to it if there's somebody has done that. I don't know of anybody that's done that, so I'm going to mark that as done, just because I don't think we know of anybody that's done that. We can always make changes if somebody finds something. Let's see here, dividing it up into sections. It's 1 page. I don't think we need to divide 1 page into sections. So I'm going to try to claim that as done. I mean, the bullets are themselves grouping things. Try to divide it by sort of what to do in order. Tried to make a stab at that. And then I realized that everybody was referring to the numbers. And if you only refer to things by number and you move things around, it's not clear what was meant. So an attempt was made and we can make changes if people hate it. What about downloading and testing the source code and building it? And instead of trusting the binary. That's, I think, an interesting one, but there's 2 comments. First of all, this was a comment about evaluating software. I think even if you rebuild, you still need to evaluate. Things like, is this the right software or is this a typo squatting? Rebuilding a typo squatting attack doesn't help. So we still need to evaluate it. Now, it's true that we could recommend rebuilding to counter subverted builds. I think for some folks where security is really critical, awesome. I don't think that for the vast majority of people are going to do that. They're going to do npm install blank, and they're going to do pip install blank. Anything that involves downloading the instructions, re-downloading all the details about how to rebuild it, it's not going to happen. So I think that's specialized enough that it's not worth putting in the 1-pager. However, that's an opinion that's not necessarily shared by others. Comments? Okay, I see a thumbs up from Krob. I don't hear any negatives so far, although maybe it's because I'm missing something. Alrighty, I see things in chat, but nobody's. All right, so I'm just gonna mark that as done for the moment. Okay. Add a note about scoping about specific tools. I think it's reasonable to recommend if you're using GitHub, or if you're using GitLab, because that's so broad. But as soon as we say, let's talk about very specific tools, oh my gosh, there's hundreds of them. Just a list wouldn't fit in one page. So I think we ought to link off to something else that goes into it, but not here. So just because we're trying to do limited space. Let's see
And
here.
David, let
All
me
right.
state.
Yeah.
These are all great ideas. Let's not forget about them. We can definitely add them as supplementary materials, but it doesn't necessarily need to go into this one pager. So don't lose on those ideas. If we want to do blogs or additional docs, awesome, we can do that.
Okay. I want to check off these things for purposes of this one doc, though.
Correct.
Because
yeah,
otherwise, yeah. But
No,
yeah,
agreed.
in fact, there is a document put out by the tools working group about the different types of tools. I will say, having written another similar document, having a list of at least example tools, it's really, really hard to give specific examples, in particular because of DeWitt clauses. We often aren't allowed to publish benchmarks, but we can at least list examples. But I think it belongs in the document that describes types of tools. Here's a type of tool. Here's several tools that do that. And if we can publish benchmarks, then that's awesome. Though I think for legal reasons, we're not going to be able to do that anytime soon. But we can at least, so recommendations are hard, but at least lists are easy. But I would say put that in the tools list. Okay. Now here's one. Okay, good. All right. I don't see any vast disagreements. And here's this next one. Really, this is a formatting thing, but I mean, they're both points I think have their advantages. So Vicky suggested split. Okay, enable rapid updates of dependencies via package managers and automated tests. Vicky had said, "Hey, wait a minute. Package managers and tests and automated tests are different," and that's absolutely true. And then she suggested splitting them, to which I said, it's not insane to split them. However, both of them help you do rapid updates. And by putting them together, it lets us emphasize the need to do rapid updates twice. So I had put those two together, even though, yes, you're right, they certainly could be split apart. I mean, Vicky, you have a very strong feeling about this, or?
Yes, I think they are distinct enough and important enough that they require each their own separate thing. And I know that adds another line feed and potentially some additional lines, and it's going to be, then you're going to have to start to mess with the margins. But I think it's important enough to call out as a separate item.
Okay,
I'm not going to die on that hill because it's not worth it, but I do think it's important.
Okay, I mean, I can try to
Marta,
split that
it looks like Marta has something to say, so maybe she believes that they should be the same thing all in one. So go ahead, Marta.
I actually agree with you with the argument that in some cases you do not have package managers. In this case, you update your dependency and you test your dependency. So I would probably suggest, just to make the point, enable rapid updates and then write about resolving dependencies by a package managers and or using automated tests separately. Are the things to use when you are doing your updates.
Okay, I can try to split this real quick. Okay, but how's this? Let me try to avoid writing text right this second. So let's just, I'm happy to split it. So I've added this little mark that says split. If we can do that today, that's awesome. But if not, so let's keep going through. So let's split it up. That's fine. It's certainly not a hill I'm going to die on. All right, let's see here. The next one here is signing releases. Oh, wait a minute. This is strange. Sorry, I'm trying to fight my computer here. Sign the releases, and this could become generate salsa provenance instead when feasible. That's true, but I think that's even less common than signing. So I think for the moment, let's leave it as it is. And you notice that we don't even say you have to use SigStore. It's just, sign. I think salsa provenance long-term is good, but that's not something that we can widely point to. That's something that, the salsa folks are still at version 0.1. We're working it. So let's come back to this once things are a little more mature and we have more worked examples. Let's see here. Sign your, whoops. Oh, I see your is being highlighted for something. No, okay.
No reason.
Okay, publish and consume. All right, are there good links for guidance, best practices on how to do each of these? Oh, I don't know if there are or not. That's actually one of the reasons I put this down further. So I agree with you. Let's try to do that. In fact, maybe we should leave that a little bit if somebody has some guidance docs. But otherwise, we can say that, and then as guidance docs get created, we can point to them. Maybe best practices for guidance is something we can do. Krob, sir.
I'll suggest that if someone is interested in creating or participating in the creation of those artifacts, there will be a whole work stream / SIG focused on SBOMs everywhere. So if you are passionate about that and helping provide good guidance, that could be an area where you can contribute. I don't know that anything really exists. It's kind of based off of your particular circumstances, but the foundation will be focusing in on that, a dedicated work stream on that. So we can always come back and add that reference once that work is done.
Yeah. Okay. So for now, so basically I'm agreeing I got one. So let's have this. And then once we have something linked to it, we'll add to it.
Quick question, if I may, regarding the same bullet. So we're saying this lets user knows when inside consider using SPDX. So is this like an OpenSSF like recommended standard as opposed to CycloneDX, for example?
I mean, that's up to the OpenSSF to decide. The original goal was to reference something you can use. So there's a little bit of complicated, SPDX. I mean, SPDX and CycloneDX have are both in use. There are different folks who have strong opinions on one side or the other. And I can talk about the pluses and minuses of each.
Yes, I was kind of thinking, considering using SPDX or CycloneDX or something, just not so that it wouldn't imply that we're recommending, unless we are SPDX over CycloneDX.
Yeah, let's see here. We can certainly do that. Does anyone have a strong opinion one way or the other here?
I've never used CycloneDX. Is there open source tooling to use it?
Yeah, so I know that Gripes, for example, supports both formats, and like there is always a discussion around it, but usually tools try to support both at the moment, from what I know.
Yeah, there are open source tools that support both. I mean, there's controversies involving this. I mean, well, I could go down that path. I'm tempted to, but in the interest of time, let's do another day.
I think it's fair to put both and move on. Yeah.
Okay. onboard your project LFX security if you manage an LF project. There are enough Linux Foundation projects. I think this is worth including. We are actually talking about trying to extend LFX security for situations where you're not an LFX Linux Foundation project also, but this basically gives you a lot of insights. CNCF, okay, let me see, I was trying to move only on the ones where somebody has a comment. Is this comment, is the can you afford it comment? It's true that all of these are, if you can afford it, but for the most part, most of these, there's not significant costs. Third-party code reviews and audits, if you're talking about serious review by someone who actually knows about stuff, typically is going to run you actual money. At least 5, more likely 6, and sometimes 7 digits, which is way more than these other items. So I think it's worth warning people, not that this is bad. It's not bad. This is more expensive than many of these other things, and be prepared for that. That was the point here. The point wasn't discouraging people from doing it. It's the warning, this will cost you significant money.
Like I think, for example, with Omega, they're bucketing around $200,000 per code review per audit. So it is expensive.
Well, it depends. They're actually doing multiples with 200K, but yeah, you're talking often at least 50 to 100K per audit, and that's the challenge. Oh, Matt has his hand up.
Yeah, sorry. I know we tried to whistle quickly past 15, but I'd like to get back. I'd like to just understand what consume means, because consume seems rather broad. I don't, I think in terms of life cycle of SBOM and connecting it to vulnerabilities. That's what I infer by consume, but it seems very broad. So not to.
Yeah, it is intentionally broad. Yeah, the intent is to be the opposite of publish. So consume means.
But what do you do when you consume it? I mean.
Well, I would expect the answers to at least be analyze to look for known vulnerabilities, analyze licensing to ensure that your legal obligation.
Yeah, I'd like to see it in terms of use cases that you described. That's exactly how I view it inside my company. So license information, okay. legal attacks, security vulnerabilities, evaluate inventory. So those are the top 3. So it's inventory, accurate inventory, evaluate for accurate inventory, evaluate for appropriate license, and then make sure that you have security vulnerabilities. And it could be directly or indirectly using, like, for example, the VEX format allows you to have a detached vulnerability as well.
Yeah, the identify inventory is really vague because that's actually not an end goal. That's a state that helps you to identify inventory.
Well, I would say validate
future vulnerabilities.
Validate accuracy of inventory. Because just because you run a tool doesn't mean it finds.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm dealing with every day, because we run half a dozen tools and they never, I don't say never, but they don't often agree on inventory. And I've also found lots of false positives in terms of inventory identified.
Something like that.
I would say verify inventory, something like that, because you basically have the identifiers
done. All right.
Yeah, it's done.
Okay. All right.
It still says identify inventory. So I would say,
is that a problem?
I would say, like I said, verify. It doesn't help them identify an inventory necessarily, as it gives a listing, but I'm saying that in terms of consumption, which I started, it's about verification of inventory.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure it lets them verify inventory, but I'll go ahead and take it, but really it doesn't let them verify the inventory.
I'm open.
It lets them see the asserted inventory. Sorry?
Well, again, I speak to like after one's produced, and if you're going to consume it, what do you use it for? I use it for inventory verification. So.
Oh, okay. But reordered to a verb as it lets users verify inventory. Yeah, I'm trying to do this in few words, so.
I mean, I'll let you work offline and move on, but you get my point. So anyway.
Yeah, I can't think of a better way of phrasing this, so I guess I'll just let verify inventory be the best I can think of.
And then it is license. It is license identification.
Well, again, my goal is the goal isn't actually a license list. The goal is to identify potential legal issues.
And I would, instead of known vulnerabilities, I say declare known vulnerabilities. Declare would probably be correct, given that Vex allows for lifecycle.
Yeah, it's pretty unusual for people to include known vulnerabilities in the SBOM. Yes, people do it. I think it's highly controversial, but regardless, the goal is to identify known vulnerabilities.
Declare or reference known vulnerabilities. You know, I understand what you're saying.
Again, that's all identify.
David, you're the most prolific. I'll let you craft it however you want.
Yeah, but I'm trying to take that and shrink it down. You know what I mean? Would you agree that
I'm saying if you put your consumption hat on, what do you intend to do?
Yeah,
intend to do with the information, right? So.
Yeah, inventory to know when a future vulnerability shows up, you know it's there. Identify known vulnerabilities either because it's in the SBOM or because you can map it to vulnerability lists, and identify potential legal issues because you get licensing information. Is that not right?
Good enough, Uncle.
I'm trying. The thing is, I agree with what you said earlier. I'm trying to capture it all in few words.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Let's see here. If you can afford it, are folks okay with the warning that this is expensive, or want to reword this, or just it's not worth it? I mean, we can remove that comment, obviously.
Do we have enough space to tell broadly how much it can cost, so that most people won't know that?
I think the problem is there isn't. If you wanted to do a thorough security audit of the entire Linux kernel, you're not going to do that for less than millions. If you're going to review is odd, I'll bet even I can do that. So they're often 50 to 100K, but I think it's so variable. I mean, we could just say this can be costly, but I don't think we can give a simple answer to that question.
I would assume something like expect more than 25K. Because someone may say,
frankly, expect more than 50K.
Someone may assume, okay, expensive, what it means, $500, you know.
What is it? USD is first, right? Well, at least.
Upwards of.
Upwards of. All right. I mean, it is a problem that it's really hard to estimate, but that's something that gets us at least a hint. All right, continuously improve. This is about secure. What about securing the human? Invest in a culture of security.
Hey, David, may I speak to number 19 just briefly?
Oh, please, sure. You can speak to anything.
Yeah, so I mean, just to raise awareness, I mean, just last week on the Securing Software Repositories call, there is a tool called Cargo Vet that was demonstrated, claiming they're creating and actually kind of inviting other package managers to do the same, to do auditing on their package repositories. So, you know,
Yes.
audit, I said their audit is a loaded word. So if we start throwing around audit, you know, I think, you know, worrying about cost, I think is secondary. I think defining what audit means, again, Cargo Vet took a lot of commentary around having a, you know, what does an audit mean? And, you know, how do you verify the trust chain and things like those? So we probably need to come back to that at some point and factor in, you know, other, you know, if these things become commonplace, either with SigStar or other things, you know, identity, you know, verifying identities and audit and scorecard. I don't know. We need to define a framework. You know, we need to or reference a framework somehow. And what does an audit mean?
Right. I've actually talked with OSTF specifically because they have a particular meaning, and yes, they go in and review specific lines and, you know, and that sort of thing. But you're, and I don't actually expect there to be a single answer, which is, I think, part of the problem. But I don't think when we're talking here, we're talking about, hey, I took a 5-minute look.
People are the yin and yang. You do an audit to get certified. So how do you certify unless you have a framework and you have, you know, it's a circular thing. So it's like,
yeah. Yep. Yeah, and I did read the Cargo Vet stuff, which is a cool way to record the information. But of course, that brings us back to the end. To what level are you doing this? Which is what your point.
Yeah,
is.
and my point on the call was like Cargo Vet would not qualify in my consideration because it's basically organizational trust. So.
Yeah, well, it could be used to record that, but that's the problem. There's no guarantee of that. In fact, it's highly unlikely to be that level of detail. Okay, let's go back. We've only got a few minutes left. Croak, do we have something else we needed to do? Or is this our trying to wrap this up today?
Just wrapping this up today was our goal. And we'll get to the other one next time.
Judy Kelly said, what about invest in a culture of security? You know, continuously improve. I mean, we could try to do something about that, or no? What do you think?
No, I think she has a very valid point. It generically falls under continuous improvement, but, you know, kind of with our goal of a one-page document, it's hard to get absolutely everything in there. And is a one-person project going to have a security culture?
Instead of invest in, how about just have?
Well, I'm saying when people came to me at recent summits and they asked me how to secure my project, they need a starting point. So oftentimes I send them to look at Salsa and run Scorecard. So I'm hoping that's, you know what I mean, as a starting point and see where you fall on the Salsa spectrum and what is your score for Scorecard. That's just, you know, from an OpenSSF point of view, you know, that's the starting point. You improve those scores, move up the ladder in the Salsa realm. And, you know, they're working to map to NIST and SSDF and stuff like that. So, you know, hopefully, you know, they'll have a more granular set of checklists in Salsa to go by eventually, right?
Which we've cited both scorecards and Salsa. I think we've covered those bases here. Yeah, I like or even have a security mindset or outlook. I don't know about, is everyone okay with culture of security for phrasing?
Or have a security mindset.
Yeah, the thing is that there's so much, there's some of these projects, when I tell them all the things that they need to do, their mind blows up. So if this is a one pager, they need some more deterministic guidance and things, tools that help them understand what improvement means.
Which hopefully with all of our examples, we've given them a great starting point.
Yeah, how about this? Make this a dash. Have a security mindset. Keep looking for tips and apply as appropriate. Going to define it as basically you constantly are looking out for ideas, apply them when they make sense.
Yeah, I'm saying that in my mind, what I try to get them to do is infuse these in continuous delivery, integration delivery processes, which means integration of scorecard and integration of automation, and integration of the controls that you would add to enforce things required by SALSA levels. So
I think it's broader than that. I agree with doing those, but you know what? You read the news and you find out.
It is broader, but I'm saying prescriptively, it'd be nice to automate. If you say continuously, in my mind, I'm saying continuous integration. That's part of the word, continuous delivery, so.
Okay, I think that by having this with everything else, I think we're okay there.
I've said my piece.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we've got scorecards in there. So if the issue is, hey, we need to have scorecards in there, we gotcha.
I would say I would say if you say look to continue to improve your scoring and your SALSA levels, that's I'd like to see that somehow re-referenced.
Would that be more appropriate in the evaluating open source software section paper we're looking at as a companion for this?
Well, I think it's your own software, not just open source software.
Right. So. That's right. That's right. It's their own too. Do we need the mindset? Just keep looking for tips, apply as appropriate, keep improving?
No, it's definitely, when I have my training course in IBM, I talk about DevSecOps. So we put security before ops. So anyways, it is mindset, we need to get people in the industry thinking of DevSecOps, not just DevOps. Right?
All right, you just can't get that in one line, but all right.
Again, you have the pen. I'm just giving you.
Well, I don't really have the pen. I'm actually trying to get the wisdom of the crowd here. So I think I've got it all though. Have a security mindset, improve scores. That was your point, Matt. Look for tips and apply as appropriate.
Thank you, Thomas.
We are at the top of the hour. Any additional comments?
You know what? I think other than splitting, I think we've got through the whole set. I'm going to try to split it and then send out.
I mean, I would know you want to wrap up, and I said we're at the top of the hour, but man, I think that the big thing we look for is governance processes. That governance processes that have a clear means to elect and maintain a healthy set of maintainers. So it's more about governance of the process than adding trust. It's having a process that's trusted.
Okay, this is really about number 21.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Work to add trust and have strong governance and have clear governance.
Amen.
All right. How's it that we can? I think I have clear governance and work to add other. Okay. All righty. I think basically I'm going to try to split it and send an email on the mailing list. But I think we can do this asynchronously, but I think we basically have this. Let's see what people think about the splitting and making last minute changes. But I think we are getting here.
So hopefully we can get this closed out at our next call and get it published up to the repo and figure out how we want to advertise it and move on to the next document.
Hey, David, I tossed something in the chat. Give it a thought for 21.
I'm very sorry.
He sent you something in the chat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me stop sharing because I can't see so many things when
No, I was saying that it's not about just adding maintainers. The key is maintaining a healthy set of maintainers, because maintainers come and go. They, great minds drift to other projects, so they might leave. So you need to call those lists as well. So I don't know how you want to. It's basically having an appropriate, healthy set of maintainers, active set of maintainers. Anyway, all done.
Yeah.
Because we have maintainers on a project I have that haven't showed up for 2 years. That's not healthy. I could add, I can add people, but we need to get rid of people who are gone. So it's maintaining an active, healthy set. So
Other active, trustworthy maintainers.
thank you. Sorry for keeping us over.
All right, team. Thank you all. We good conversation. Anyone interested in the education SIG, we'll hopefully see you tomorrow. Otherwise, this group will reconvene in 2 weeks. Cheers, all.
Yes. And thank you, everybody.
Well, Matt, do you have a sec?